On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Clarence "Frogman" Henry, the New Orleans rhythm and blues singer best known for his 1956 hit, Ain't Got No Home, passed away on April 7, 2024, at the age of 87 from natural causes. His death marked the end of a remarkable era in American music, one defined by innovation, regional influence, and the vibrant legacy of R&B. Henry's passing was quiet but poignant, reflecting both the fleeting nature of fame and the enduring spirit of the New Orleans sound. Born in 1937 in New Orleans, Clarence Henry began his career steeped in the musical traditions of his hometown. Nicknamed Frogman for his ability to mimic croaking sounds in his songs, Henry's whimsical vocal style and catchy lyrics quickly gained national attention. His breakthrough hit, Ain't Got No Home, became a staple of 1950s radio and later enjoyed renewed popularity when it was featured in the 1983 film Diner and on the Animal House soundtrack. Though he never achieved the superstardom of contemporaries like Fats Domino, Henry remained a beloved regional figure, performing for decades and often opening for major acts like the Beatles during their 1964 U.S. tour. Henry's death reflected the quiet departure of many early rock and R&B pioneers, artists who helped shape the musical landscape but did not always receive the sustained recognition they deserved. The values of his era, musical experimentation, racial integration through art, and grassroots success, were embodied in his career and quiet dignity. His passing served as a reminder of the cultural richness of mid-20th century Black American music and how it continues to influence contemporary sound. In the wake of his death, tributes from New Orleans musicians and historians highlighted Henry's unique contributions. His frog-like vocals may have seemed novelty to some, but they were emblematic of an era where originality and joy stood out in a changing America. Through commemorative concerts, local memorials, and his music's continued presence in media, Clarence "Frogman" Henry remains immortalized. His story underscores humanity's desire to celebrate creativity, remember the joyful echoes of the past, and preserve voices that once sang for a changing world. Seymour Cassel, a beloved character actor known for his work in American independent cinema, passed away on April 7, 2019, at the age of 84 from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. His death, though natural and quiet, marked the end of an era shaped by artistic rebellion, the rise of independent film, and a commitment to creative authenticity over commercial conformity. Cassel's career was deeply entwined with the maverick spirit of 1960s cinema. He became a frequent collaborator with director John Cassavetes, appearing in seminal films like Faces, 1968, which earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor. This partnership helped define the American independent film movement, emphasizing raw emotion, improvisation, and real-life struggles over polished studio productions. In this context, Cassel's death symbolized the fading of a cinematic philosophy that challenged the Hollywood status quo and gave voice to unfiltered human experience. His passing did not shock the world, but it resonated deeply within film communities. Actors and directors alike paid tribute, recalling his generosity, spontaneity, and deep dedication to his craft. Though not a household name, Cassel embodied the working actor's spirit, one who championed art over fame and collaboration over ego. Cassel's legacy has only grown posthumously. His performances, especially under Cassavetes and later in Wes Anderson's films like The Royal Tenenbaums, 2001, are revisited as essential to understanding the evolution of modern American film. The values of his era, artistic risk, emotional authenticity, and resistance to commodification live on in the indie film world, where Cassel remains a symbol of integrity and passion. His death invites reflection on how we honor those who work behind the spotlight, whose dedication quietly shapes culture. Through film retrospectives, critical essays, and heartfelt anecdotes from peers, Cassel is immortalized not just for the roles he played, but for the ethos he represented. Alix Talton, an American actress known for her work in 1950s cinema and television, passed away from lung cancer on April 7, 1992, at the age of 71. Her death, though natural, occurred during a time when the entertainment industry was undergoing a profound shift, from the golden age of studio dominance to the increasingly personal, auteur-driven films of the late 20th century. Talton's passing represented not only the end of a personal career, but also the quiet fade of a generation of actors who helped shape the post-war American film identity. Talton was best known for roles in films like The Man Who Knew Too Much, 1956, and the cult science fiction classic The Deadly Mantis, 1957. She often portrayed elegant, sharp-tongued women, a reflection of mid-century American cinema's approach to femininity, where women were both glamorous and confined by the expectations of the era. Her characters mirrored the tension of 1950s America, caught between traditional roles and emerging calls for independence and expression. The immediate consequence of Talton's death may not have generated international headlines, but within the world of classic film aficionados, it marked the loss of a link to a unique cinematic era. Her passing prompted renewed interest in mid-century genre films and reminded audiences of the actresses who brought subtle strength and sophistication to the screen, often without receiving the long-term recognition they deserved. Her legacy survives through film preservation efforts and retrospectives that highlight the contributions of actors in genre and supporting roles. These are the performers who, while not always at the center of the frame, brought depth and nuance to stories that reflected the cultural anxieties and aspirations of their time. Talton's death, like those of many from Hollywood's mid-century years, underscores how mortality eventually claims the stars who once lit up the silver screen. Yet through the enduring power of film, memory, and scholarship, figures like her remain alive in the cultural imagination. Their work, frozen in time, continues to speak to new generations. James Hampton, a beloved character actor known for his affable demeanor and memorable roles in television and film, passed away from complications related to Parkinson's disease on April 7, 2021, at the age of 84. His death was natural, occurring quietly during a global pandemic that had already underscored the fragility of life. While Hampton's passing may not have caused seismic shifts in Hollywood, it marked the loss of a performer whose career was rooted in the charm, reliability, and warmth that defined a particular brand of American storytelling during the late 20th century. Hampton is perhaps best remembered for his role as the bumbling but lovable bugler Hannibal Dobbs on the 1960s sitcom F Troop, and as Harold Howard, the supportive father of a teenage werewolf in Teen Wolf, 1985. His performances embodied an era when television and film offered familiar, comforting figures in a world often shaken by real-life political and cultural turmoil. The 1960s and 1980s, key periods in Hampton's career, were marked by both social upheaval and a yearning for stability, and Hampton's everyman presence provided exactly that for audiences. The immediate consequences of his passing were heartfelt tributes from fans and colleagues, many of whom recognized that Hampton's work had quietly but meaningfully shaped their experiences with pop culture. While he was rarely a leading man, his steady presence amplified the emotional resonance of the stories he supported. Hampton's death also highlights a broader truth about how we value those in the margins of fame, those who may not headline but whose contributions are vital to the magic of storytelling. In a media age increasingly focused on spectacle, his legacy reminds us of the power of subtlety, humor, and heart. We immortalize figures like James Hampton not only through reruns and nostalgic reflections, but through the broader impact they've had on the fabric of American entertainment. His characters live on in the laughter of sitcoms and the warmth of family films, a testament to the enduring power of kindness and humanity on screen. John Agar, a prominent figure in mid-20th century Hollywood, passed away from complications related to emphysema on April 7, 2002, at the age of 81. His death was natural, the quiet conclusion to a life that had once been lit brightly by both military service and a unique niche in the American film industry. Agar's legacy, while not tied to revolutionary change, is etched in the cultural memory of the post-war era, where ideals of masculinity, heroism, and moral certainty were projected onto the silver screen. Agar first rose to fame as the first husband of Shirley Temple, America's sweetheart. However, he quickly carved out his own path, transitioning from a decorated World War II veteran to a leading man in 1950s science fiction and westerns. His performances in films like Tarantula, 1955, The Mole People, 1956, and Revenge of the Creature, 1955, positioned him as a staple of Cold War-era cinema, a time when the American public sought clarity and strength in the face of atomic anxiety and geopolitical uncertainty. His passing in the early 2000s did not send shockwaves through the industry, but it stirred nostalgia among fans of classic genre films. Agar represented an era when Hollywood leaned heavily on symbolism. The strong-jawed, morally upright hero navigating monstrous threats that mirrored societal fears. In this sense, his death marked the fading of a generation of storytelling that relied on simplicity, patriotism, and the clear-cut delineation between good and evil. The enduring appeal of John Agar lies in how his film roles echoed the values of his time: discipline, duty, and American resolve. His military background enhanced his credibility in these roles, tying real-life service to on-screen valor, which resonated with audiences during the Cold War and beyond. Today, Agar is immortalized through a resurgence of interest in retro sci-fi, preserved in cult classics, and celebrated in film festivals and retrospectives. His life and career speak to how Hollywood, especially in the 1950s, served not just as entertainment, but as a mirror and balm to national identity. Mike Wallace, the formidable broadcast journalist best known for his decades-long tenure on 60 Minutes, died on April 7, 2012, at the age of 93 from natural causes. His death marked the end of an era in American journalism, a period defined by fearless investigative reporting, hard-hitting interviews, and a no-nonsense approach to accountability in public life. Wallace's passing didn't just mourn a man, it mourned a style of journalism that held truth as a sacred pillar of democracy. Wallace came of age during the golden era of television news, helping shape the medium into a powerful force for public accountability. As one of the original correspondents of 60 Minutes, which debuted in 1968, Wallace helped pioneer the news magazine format that combined storytelling with confrontation. His interviews were legendary, often leaving powerful figures, from Ayatollah Khomeini to Barbra Streisand, visibly shaken or introspective. His death, coming at a time when trust in mainstream media was increasingly under scrutiny, served as a stark contrast to the journalistic values he embodied: integrity, rigor, and the relentless pursuit of truth. The immediate consequence of his passing was a wave of tributes from across the political and media spectrum. Colleagues, politicians, and journalists alike recognized Wallace as a foundational figure whose work influenced generations. His legacy amplified in death, with retrospectives highlighting not just his journalistic accomplishments, but his transparency about personal struggles, including his battle with depression, a candidness rare among public figures of his generation. Wallace's death invites broader reflection on society's relationship with power and truth. In a media landscape increasingly driven by speed and sensationalism, Wallace represents a memory of journalism as a public service rather than a ratings game. He is immortalized not only through 60 Minutes archives, which remain widely studied and referenced, but also through awards and fellowships bearing his name, encouraging future journalists to uphold his standards. In remembering Wallace, we reflect on the role of the press as a watchdog and the enduring need for voices unafraid to challenge the status quo. His legacy is a testament to the enduring power of truth and the courage it takes to demand it. Brenda Benet, a talented actress best known for her roles in soap operas like Days of Our Lives and various TV dramas of the 1970s, died tragically by suicide on April 7, 1982. She was 36. Her death was both a personal and cultural tragedy, an emotional culmination of private grief and public scrutiny that reflected the challenges of fame, mental health, and societal expectations for women in Hollywood during that era. Benet's final years were marked by profound personal losses. Most notably, she was devastated by the sudden death of her 6-year-old son, Christopher, from a childhood illness in 1981. The heartbreak reportedly left her inconsolable. Despite her professional success and polished public persona, Benet struggled silently with depression. On that fateful day, she locked herself in the bathroom of her Los Angeles home and ended her life with a self-inflicted gunshot wound, Weinraub, 1982. Her passing sent ripples through the entertainment community. Though her name may not have reached global stardom, Benet's death highlighted an uncomfortable truth. Beneath the glamour of Hollywood, many silently battled emotional turmoil. Her suicide echoed a broader shift in public discourse during the 1980s, a period when mental health began emerging from the shadows but still lacked sufficient support and understanding, especially for women in the spotlight. Benet's death has since been referenced in discussions around mental health awareness, particularly in the context of fame and the pressures it exerts. It also serves as a stark reminder of the often hidden grief celebrities endure and the importance of compassion over tabloid sensationalism. In the decades since, Benet has been remembered through tributes in soap opera retrospectives and by fans who appreciated the depth she brought to her roles. While she never achieved legendary status like Marilyn Monroe or Judy Garland, her story remains a poignant chapter in Hollywood history, a cautionary tale about the cost of emotional isolation. We memorialize figures like Brenda Benet not only through their work, but also by learning from their pain, recognizing the humanity behind their performances, and striving to build a world where vulnerability is met with care, not silence. John Prine, the revered American singer-songwriter, passed away on April 7, 2020, at the age of 73, due to complications from COVID-19. His death, amid the global pandemic, was not only a profound loss for the music world, but also emblematic of the era's fragility and collective grief. Known for his deeply human storytelling, Prine's lyrics captured the joys and aches of ordinary life with poetic clarity, making his death particularly poignant during a time when the world was reckoning with loss on a mass scale. Prine's passing was both sudden and symbolic. He had survived cancer twice, once in the neck and later in the lungs, which left him with a gravelly voice that only deepened the emotional resonance of his music. His resilience in the face of illness became a part of his legend. That he was ultimately taken by a virus that disproportionately affected the elderly and vulnerable underscored the tragic randomness of the pandemic. As his wife Fiona Whelan Prine put it, COVID-19 didn't care about the man or the legacy. It was cruel and indiscriminate. New York Times, 2020. The immediate aftermath of Prine's death saw an outpouring of tributes from fellow musicians, fans, and writers. Bob Dylan called him one of my favorite songwriters, and artists across genres covered his songs in homage. His passing reignited interest in his vast catalog and introduced a new generation to the quiet brilliance of songs like Angel from Montgomery and Hello in There, which now took on new layers of meaning amid global isolation and mourning. Prine's legacy continues to be immortalized in tributes, documentary features, and the songs he left behind. His ability to find profound truths in mundane moments ensured that his music became part of the cultural memory, not just of a generation, but of humanity's broader emotional landscape. John Prine's death reminds us of the enduring power of storytelling and how, in the face of mortality, art becomes a vessel for memory, comfort, and continuity. Alan Garfield, a prolific character actor known for his roles in films such as The Conversation, 1974, and Nashville, 1975, died of complications related to COVID-19 on April 7, 2020, at the age of 80. His passing came during the height of the global pandemic, a moment in history marked by uncertainty, isolation, and the vulnerability of even the most resilient individuals. Garfield's death was not just a personal tragedy, but also a reflection of a broader cultural reckoning with mortality, particularly among the aging creative class who had shaped 20th century cinema. Garfield had lived the final years of his life in the Motion Picture and Television Fund's retirement home in Woodland Hills, California, a haven for many Hollywood veterans. After suffering multiple strokes in the early 2000s, he had largely withdrawn from public life. His death during the COVID-19 outbreak highlighted the particular risks faced by elderly populations in communal living situations and cast a spotlight on the silent disappearance of artistic voices during the pandemic. Los Angeles Times, 2020. While Garfield may not have been a household name, his death was deeply felt by those in the film industry and cinephile circles. His characters, often eccentric or morally complex, brought an authenticity and intensity that elevated the ensemble films of the 1970s, an era often heralded as a golden age of American cinema. The immediate consequence of his death was a renewed appreciation of his body of work, prompting retrospectives and tributes that acknowledged his contribution to an era defined by gritty realism and character-driven storytelling. Garfield's passing invites reflection on the fragility of legacy in a fast-moving cultural landscape. Unlike iconic leads whose deaths are widely mourned, character actors like Garfield often fade quietly, despite shaping the very texture of film history. Yet through platforms like streaming services, film festivals, and digital archives, his legacy endures. His death, and the pandemic context in which it occurred, reminds us that memory, like art, is an act of preservation. In honoring figures like Garfield, we confront our collective relationship with mortality, power, and the quiet forces that shape culture. Beatrice Straight, an acclaimed actress known for her powerful performance in the 1976 film Network, died on April 7, 2001, at the age of 86. Straight's passing came after a lengthy battle with cancer, a natural death that marked the end of a long career in both theater and film. She had retired from acting in the early 1990s, but her legacy, especially her iconic role in Network, ensured that she remained a touchstone for film lovers and critics alike. Straight's death occurred during a time when the entertainment industry was reflecting on its evolving landscape. The late 1990s and early 2000s saw a shift in Hollywood, moving away from the method acting and ensemble-driven cinema of the 1970s, which Straight had so famously embodied. Network, directed by Sidney Lumet, is a sharp critique of the growing influence of mass media, corporate control, and the erosion of moral values. Straight's portrayal of the vulnerable yet strong wife of a news anchor struck a chord with audiences, and she won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for her brief but unforgettable performance. Her portrayal was a microcosm of the larger societal shifts taking place during the film's release, a critique of capitalism and media manipulation. In terms of immediate consequences, Beatrice Straight's death left behind a profound appreciation for her skill as a character actress. Her role in Network amplified her legend, as it remains one of the defining performances of the 1970s era, preserving her place in film history despite her relatively low number of roles. In an era where celebrity often overshadows talent, Straight's ability to convey deep emotion and truth in small, pivotal moments was a powerful reminder of the art of acting as a craft, rather than just a vehicle for fame. Her death also provoked reflection on the evolution of the entertainment industry and the rise of corporate media, a theme she so vividly portrayed in Network. As time passes, figures like Beatrice Straight are immortalized not just for their roles, but for the deeper cultural questions they posed. Her legacy lives on through her work, which continues to be celebrated in retrospectives and cinematic studies, immortalizing her performance in Network as a key reflection on society's complex relationship with power, media, and morality. Christopher Cazenove, a talented British actor best known for his role in the television series Dynasty, passed away on April 7, 2010, at the age of 64. His death was the result of complications following a stroke, which he had suffered several weeks earlier. The suddenness of his passing from natural causes, especially following a period of recovery, shocked many who admired his long-standing career in both television and film. Cazenove's death occurred during a time when the entertainment industry was experiencing significant shifts, particularly in the realm of television. The era of grand, sweeping drama series like Dynasty had given way to more serialized, complex storytelling, with new stars emerging. Cazenove had become synonymous with the suave, aristocratic characters he often portrayed, and his role as the wealthy and powerful Ben Carrington in Dynasty had cemented him as an enduring figure in popular culture. The immediate consequence of his passing was an outpouring of tributes from his colleagues and fans alike. While Cazenove had not been in the public spotlight in recent years, his death reignited interest in his legacy, particularly in the world of 80s television dramas. His death was not just the loss of a talented actor, but also the closing of a chapter in an era of television that prized glamour and over-the-top drama, elements that Cazenove had come to embody. Although Cazenove had not been as active in recent years, his death amplified his legendary status within the sphere of classic television. His portrayal of aristocratic roles in shows like Dynasty continued to resonate, and as a result, his death invoked memories of the excess and extravagance that defined the cultural atmosphere of the 1980s. It was an era where appearances and wealth were central, and Cazenove's characters mirrored that emphasis. His death led to a renewed reflection on this bygone era of television that continues to be appreciated by fans of retro TV. Cazenove's passing also highlights humanity's evolving relationship with mortality, particularly how we honor and commemorate actors who may not have been at the forefront of the public eye in their final years, but whose earlier work continues to live on. As with many figures from the past, we immortalize them through the power of nostalgia, keeping their contributions alive through reruns, digital streaming, and retrospective analyses of their careers. Mark Speight, a well-known British television presenter, tragically passed away on April 7, 2008, at the age of 42. His death, which was ruled a suicide, came after a period of personal turmoil. Speight had been grappling with the sudden death of his fiancée, Natasha Collins, who had died just a few months earlier from a drug overdose. Her death had deeply affected him, and Speight struggled with intense grief and the emotional aftermath, leading to his own tragic end. Speight was beloved for his role as a host of the children's program Smart, where his engaging personality and wit made him a household name in the UK. His passing cast a shadow over the world of children's television, and the immediate consequences were felt not only in the entertainment industry, but also among his loyal fans, particularly young viewers who had grown up with him. His death sparked discussions about mental health, grief, and the pressures faced by public figures, particularly in the entertainment industry, where personal struggles are often hidden behind a facade of success. Spaihts' death amplified the tragic and vulnerable side of his public persona. While he was known for his upbeat, cheerful demeanor on screen, his death revealed the often unseen battles that individuals face in their personal lives. His passing illuminated the fragile nature of celebrity and the deep, often painful emotional toll of grief and loss. As the public mourned his passing, it drew attention to the importance of mental health support and the need to address the stigma surrounding mental illness, particularly in the entertainment industry. The immediate aftermath of his death saw tributes from friends, colleagues, and fans who remembered his kindness, humor, and talent. Mark Spaihts' death, though deeply sorrowful, also led to greater public awareness about the emotional well-being of those in the spotlight. It raised questions about how society values its public figures, often expecting them to be invulnerable while ignoring the psychological pressures they face. In death, Spaihts' legacy as a compassionate and funny television personality was immortalized through tributes, documentaries, and the remembrance of his work on Smart. Through these tributes, we are reminded of humanity's ongoing relationship with mortality, grief, and the lasting impact of a life cut short. As we commemorate such figures, we are reminded of the importance of addressing mental health and the complexity of the lives behind the public faces.